there's been a lot of talk about the future of Gareth Southgate, and it seems that opinion is a lot more divided after that game against France. Some have said that they definitely think he should be going after this tournament. Others have said, well, we've seen something a little more from him there. Stuart, I'm interested to know what you think about Gareth Southgate's future after seeing that game against France.
It doesn't really change my point of view, the game against France. I think that Gareth Southgate is a relatively limited coach. But in terms of man management and getting the best out of a lot of good players and making the players feel welcome, all that sort of stuff, which you have to do at international football, I'm not sure too many people can do it better than he does in terms of making sure the players enjoy their time with England. Because over the years, a lot of players have said they never really enjoyed playing for England. They now do enjoy playing for England. They've got some good players. And while I don't think he's a top-class coach, I wouldn't sack him at the moment or try. I would try and persuade him to stay until the end of his contract, the European Championships.
Stuart, what would you have done different if you were the manager in that game, looking back at it?
I wouldn't have done a lot different. I mean, England had, particularly in the second half, they didn't play particularly well in the first half. I thought their movement down the right-hand side was good. Saka was obviously causing problems. There's not too much else he could have done. You know, would he bring on Grealish that bit earlier? I'm not a Grealish fan at the moment. I don't think he affected enough games for Man City over the course of the season. He had the best players on the field. I think that was the case. And he made the right substitutions at the right time. And that hasn't always been the case with Gareth Southgate. I blamed him for losing against Croatia. I blamed him for losing against Italy in the final of the European Championship. He had a poor Nations League. But over the course of this World Cup, they've done OK. And I can't see any reason why you'd sack him before the end of his contract, which is the European Championship.
There's two ways to look at it. I'm a bit 50-50 on it because, yeah, they played some good stuff and we've got some fantastic attacking players in particular. Thought Declan Rice was outstanding and will eventually, whenever that is, leave West Ham and go on and patrol a midfield of a really, really top club. But ultimately, they've had 3 pops at it, and that's ultimately 3 failures. And when you look at the avenue that they've had to get to where the World Cup semi-final, the Euro final, and now they've met the big hurdle in France this time around. And you look at the teams they've beaten in the last 4 or 5 years, the Panamas, the Ecuadors, the Colombias, Iran, Wales, there's a list going on. There isn't any real elite level teams. Germany they did beat in the Euros, but let's be honest, the Germans are going downhill at France clamour and continue to do so. So I think there's a little bit, I think, from certainly the English, reading between the lines from the English fans, not so much the English journalists, is that actually with the pathway we've had, it could, with these players, have been a little bit better. It could have been better. And I think that is an argument to be had.
Right.
Not that he deserves to be sacked.
But they'll say the first time you came up against a big, strong opposition, you didn't manage to get past them.
I think it's a 50-50 call at the moment. I think he's done well, but there has been an avenue for them to go all the way, particularly in the first 2 occasions. I'm OK with Gareth staying. I mean, this is good for us.
So how do you win it? You know, if he's a manager of Real Madrid or Barcelona or Man City or whatever, and he's 2nd, 3rd and 5th...
Yeah, but if you were never there and now suddenly you are getting that far, that has to be taken.
Well, you've gone the wrong way. You've got a final. You've got a final, which means you're 2nd. You lose a semi, which means you're 3rd at least. And then this time you're what, 5th?
When were they doing that
so
before?
if this is a club team, you're going the wrong way.
Before Gareth Southgate, though.
Sorry?
When were they doing that in recent years before Gareth Southgate come in? When were they going?
Oh, give him a 20-year contract.
I tell you what. Let's do it another way. Jules, can you list us off the top of your head the French players that were missing?
Yeah, Benzema, Pogba, Kanté, Kimpembe, and Nkunku and Lucas Hernandez. So 6 starters potentially.
So there you have that's part of I think that is part of the argument that some in England are having. Some in the media are saying Gareth's done great, you know, and he's harnessed an atmosphere, and the media relations is good, and the results have been pretty okay. Yes, there's another argument to say this could have been a whole lot better when you think about who we've had, and we've met the world champions at the quarter-final stage, and they're just missing all those players that Jill said. Yeah. And in England were missing who? Nobody. Really? I mean, don't think anybody in particular. There's the argument.
All right. Jules, I'm interested to know the reaction in France to that game against England and getting past them. Obviously, they're happy to have that one out of the way. And can you tell us a little bit more about the reaction to Harry Kane taking the second penalty? Because I heard that there was some surprise in France that he did that.
Yeah, very much so. I mean, surprised, I'm not sure, but a debate for sure about whether it was right for him to take that second pen, considering he was against Hugo Lloris, who he obviously knows very well. And the French were just like, there was not saying that it was a criticism of Kane or of Southgate for Kane to take it. They were just saying, like, was that okay? Was that planned? Did they even discuss it? And I don't think it was ever discussed. It was Kane for penalties, whether he had 1, 2, 3, 4 in the same game, against a keeper that he knew, who knew him or not, it didn't matter so much. The reaction in France, and to be fair, I started it. I'm tired of his substitutions. I'm tired of his very, very poor in-game management, Southgate. And I agree with Stewart, every single word Stewart said. I just don't think he's good enough. Why is Raheem Sterling even coming on in that game? How come Raheem Sterling is the first player that Gareth Southgate is thinking of when you 2-1 down against France with 10 minutes to go? When you've just spent 5 days in London, he flew back from Doha to London, 7 hours, 3 hours time difference, went back the other way after 4 days to deal with something that was quite traumatic to him and his family. Another 7-hour flight, another 3 hours delayed time difference. And then you bring him on for Saka, who is your best player so far. That didn't make any sense. Like, it didn't make any sense not to capitalize on England being so dominant in that second half and waiting to be 2-1 down to make your first substitution. I just don't get it, and it's not the first time. And just for that reason, I just don't think he's good enough for a very, very talented squad.
Not only that, but Sterling hadn't really played well before going home. Then he had that in his mind. As Jill, all the reasons Jill's mentioned, he flies back. Rashford, who was, up until the Senegal game, we thought he was going to start because he'd been flying. You're looking at his pace in behind, his goal threat in behind. He should have been the first port of call. And to go back to the penalty, if Jordan Henderson or Phil Foden or anybody else had stepped up and taken that penalty and missed, Harry Kane would have been bludgeoned. Absolutely bludgeoned by all and sundry. So I really don't think he had any choice to stand up as the leader, as the main marksman, as the penalty taker, and take that responsibility.
He'd already scored. Have they forgotten? He's already scored.
Yeah, but then it's a whole new...
Yeah.
Well, what's the difference between the second one and the first one? Well, Harry Kane showed the first time round he could outfox the goalkeeper. So why wouldn't he be able to do it a second time?
Thanks so much for watching ESPN on YouTube. And for more sports highlights and analysis, be sure to download the ESPN app. And for premium content and live streaming, subscribe to ESPN Plus.